Hey, welcome back, Ben again. So recently I learned how to make a really powerful cloud Minecraft server for free, and I thought I'd share you guys how I did that. I'm actually following this tutorial, which was made about a year or so ago, but there are a couple parts that are outdated and or confusing, so I'm going to show you guys how to do that. As a warning, this tutorial is a little complicated if you don't have any computer experience, but if you just follow along with what I'm doing, you should be fine. So let's go. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is sign up for an Oracle Cloud account. You can get access to a decently powerful VM for free, which is actually pretty awesome, and I have other ideas to use this for. But anyways, we want to go to oracle.com/cloud/free, and I'll have a lot of these links in the description. So I already have an account, so I'm not going to make a new one. You can see my login here already. But if you just sign up for an account here, it'll ask you a lot of information like your name and your address, and all that type of stuff. The only downside is that it will ask you for credit card information. Fortunately though, they say right when you do it that you will not get charged, which is awesome, and you can make sure to set it up so that you won't get charged, and we're actually going to be using something that's called Always Free. So you can feel pretty safe about that. They probably will put a little charge on your card, like a temporary charge. I think mine was $1, and it disappeared after about a day or so. It'll take a while for your account to be created and initialized. Mine took about 30 minutes, half an hour, but I got an email once it was ready saying that I could log in. So once I did that, I was able to hop in. Cool, so once we are in, we're going to create a VM instance. You can either do it from up here, or you might see this down here, create a VM instance. So we're going to do that. And you might have seen it said always free eligible, so that's what we're going to do. So up here, we're going to create a name. I already have one Minecraft instance going, so I'm just going to call this Minecraft 2. If I could type. And you can create another compartment if you want to. Otherwise, you can just keep it in this username, then root section. It's just kind of to help you compartmentalize things. So for placement, if we edit this, it'll just choose your region per se. So you should have chose your vague region when you created your account, and you can see up in the corner here, I'm in the East Ashburn. So either of these you can choose is fine. It's just kind of redundancy on their end. So choose either one of these and you should be okay. And you can still see here, always free eligible. So now we want to move on to the image and shape. So this is where we actually choose the setup for our instance. We're going to keep this on Oracle Linux 8. And for the shape is kind of like how the server is set up, so the RAM processors. So again, we're going to keep with this always free eligible. We're going to go to Ampere, because we're going to go for an ARM based. And we can see still always free eligible. So this is we're going to choose how many CPUs and RAM we have. So if we expand this, I'm going to choose 2, just because, again, I already have a server running. So I would choose probably 4 normally, or you can choose 2 actually. I think that'd be okay. You really don't need too much to run the server. For the amount of memory, I'd say probably 8 should be fine. Technically, with the free account that we have, you have up to 4 OCPUs, which is this, and up to 24 gigs of RAM. So I'm just going to use 2 CPUs and 8 gigs, which is plenty for a 20-person server, which is awesome. So we're just going to use that. So 2 and 8, select shape. That looks good. And we're just going to make sure this still says always free eligible here to make sure we're going to not get charged for our credit card. So now we have to go into networking. We're going to do create a new virtual cloud network here. And we can keep this the same, and we're going to keep it in the compartment. And we're going to create new public subnet, my bad. Let's make sure both of these are good. And we can keep these the same. And we're going to make sure we have assign a public IPv4 address is selected. Up next, we need to generate some SSH keys so we can log into our instance through a terminal. So we're just going to generate a new key pair. And we want to save both of these. And since this is a new instance I'm saving, I'm going to save both of these. I'm just going to save it in my downloads for now, with the private and the public. So we got those. We're going to use those later. And for boot volume, we're going to keep this the same. So we're going to press create. And this might take a minute or two, and you can see everything's kind of loading. There we go. All right, we're going to see it's saying provisioning. And this will take a minute or so, and this will eventually turn green. All right, so now we're in the green, and we say running, which is what we want. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to copy this public IP address. We're going to copy that. And next, since we're going to have to SSH into our little terminal here, we're going to use PuTTY. I recommend using PuTTY for this, as we need to use our private key, so it's a little bit more complicated than just doing your normal SSH command. So I'm not going to show you how to download and install PuTTY, as it works the same way as you install anything. So I'm just going to open PuTTY here. And what we're going to do is that I'm going to post that IP in here. And I'm actually going to save this because we're going to do some other settings in here. And if you don't save it, you'll have to redo all these settings every time, which is really annoying. So I'm just going to call this MC2. And we're going to save that. So now we have an MC2 session, so we can more easily log into this next time. Cool. So now we have that set up. We actually need to go into another version of PuTTY called PuTTYGen. So this should come pre-installed or installed with PuTTY. And so what we need to do is that we need to convert the private key we downloaded into a PuTTY key, because technically it's an open SSH format, but we need to convert it to PuTTY's own format. So what we're going to do is that we're going to click load and go to wherever you saved your keys. I might have to, yeah, so I was looking for a PuTTY private. So if you change to all files, we can now get it. I believe it's going to be this one that doesn't say .key. Yep, okay. Because there's a private and a public one. If you click the other one and it says I can't import it, just try clicking the other one because it's looking for the private key one. Cool, so now we have our private key, and you can see my SSH RSA key here, which is cool. So now what we're going to do is that we're just going to click Save Private Key. It does ask if you want to save it with a password. You can do a password here, so you have another layer of security when you log into your server. I would recommend doing that, but we're just going to skip that for now. So we're just going to click Yes. And I'm actually going to go put this in my SSH folder. So if you go to your user, there should be a .ssh folder if you've used SSH before. Otherwise, you can put it elsewhere and you can still save it. So now we're seeing that we're saving this as a PuTTY private key file. So I'll save this as MC2 key. And there we go. So we've saved that. So now I'm going to make sure I'm still in this MC2 session back in PuTTY. So now what we want to do is on this left side here, if you can see it, we're going to do connection. Actually, you know what? There we go. We're going to do connection, SSH, auth, and then credentials. So kind of this big tree down, we want to get to this credentials subcategory. So now we want to do this browse private key. So we're going to do browse, and I'm going to click the one that we just made. And we can see it gets put into there. And so now we're going to go back to session, and we should be good to go. So let's open that up. And it's going to ask you, the key is not cached, and it can't guarantee that you know who it is. But we know who it is since we're the one who put that information in. So we're going to accept. And cool. So now we have our terminal here. And you want to log in as a user called OPC. OPC. Hit enter, and there we go. We're in. So now we're in this little instance, and we're basically just remoted into another server here. And you can see it's just like another Linux terminal. Cool. So now that we have this, we need to download the JDK, which is the Java Developer Kit. So we need this so we can run Java applications. So we need to go to this website, which again I will put in the description. Let me zoom back out here. We're going to go here. So at the time of making this video, Java 19 and apparently 17 is out now. So we're going to be looking for 19 specifically. This is where the original tutorial I mentioned gets a little bit different. They used one that came pre-built with the instance that we made, except it's too outdated to work with the Minecraft server for Minecraft 19 or Minecraft 1.19. Just a coincidence that it's Java 19 and Minecraft 1.19. But the JDK that originally used is out of date, so we need this more up-to-date version. So technically, since we are on a ARM server or ARM CPU, we need to make sure we're under Linux, and then we're going to go to ARM64 compressed archive. And what we're going to do is that we're not going to download this here on our actual computer. We're going to copy this. So copy the link address. Let me zoom back in. We're going to go to our terminal. And what we want to do is say wget. And then if you, was that left click or right click? There we go. It'll kind of paste it in there for you. Control V might also work. We're going to hit enter on that. And so what it's going to do, wget just tells this terminal to go to that link and download that file, because this is the actual download link we have here. So now if we do another list, you can see we have this file now. It's kind of hard to see in the red there, but we now have downloaded this archive file on our little virtual machine. So now we need to extract it because we're in a tar, which is just another way of zipping files, kind of just like WinRAR or just .zip. So to extract it, what we're going to say tar, because we're starting with the command for it, dash xvzf. These are your commands that help it tell it where to go, how to extract it. And then we're going to put the name of it in here. If you say JDK and then tab, it'll autofill. It doesn't always work because it's kind of weird doing through an SSH. Otherwise, just type in that name that's in there and you should be good. So if we hit enter, you can see it starts extracting everything. All right, now we're good. So if we do another ls, we can see we now have that original file that we had, but we also just have straight up JDK 19, which is what we want. So this is our install of Java right here. So now to tell this VM that we want to use this version of Java, we need to edit our path. So what we're going to do, if you do ls-a, you can see some of these hidden files. -a shows you hidden. So we need to edit this bash rc, .bash rc. This kind of just tells the system where things are located, especially for our path. So what we want to do is we want to do nano .bash rc. Oops, if I could spell bash rc. There we go. And it brings up this little, it's like a little editor. So we want to do, under this export path that's already in there, we want to do another export path. And in here, we say equals $home / JDK -19.0.1 or whatever version you've currently downloaded /bin. There's a file inside this folder that we made called bin, so that's what we're pointing to, $path, and that should be good. So now to get out of this, do Control X, and then you'll see this little thing pop up that says Save Modified Buffer, and you just hit Y for yes, and then it asks you if you want to change the name. Just hit Enter. That'll save it as the same name. Okay, now that we have the path edited, we need to say source .bash rc, and that's just going to reload our bash files so the system knows our changes. So now we did that. To verify, we can say java --version. And if we did it correctly, that command should work, and we should see Java 19.0.1 or whatever version you haven't downloaded and installed. So that's good. Now we are ready to actually install our Minecraft server. So we need to hop over down to our Minecraft site, and we need to go to this little hyperlink here, and we're going to right click this and copy link address. And so of course by the time you do this, we might not be on Minecraft 1.19.2 anymore, and that's fine. Whichever one should be okay. So we're going to grab that, and we're going to go back to our terminal, zoom in there, and we're going to do the same thing we did for the JDK. We're going to do wget, pop that in there, hit enter, and we're going to see that it downloads. So if we look in our directory, we're going to see we now have a server.jar, which is awesome. So we're going to run the server, although we're not quite done with everything yet. We're going to run it anyways. So back on this page here, we can grab this command actually. This is the command to start the server. We're going to copy that. And I'm going to open terminal back up. And I'm going to paste that in there. And I'm actually going to edit this because you can see that this expects a file called Minecraft_server. But ours is just called server. I think when you download it through wget, it saves differently for whatever reason. So just in case, we're going to get rid of this in the command and we're just going to say server.jar instead. That, and there we go. You're going to see it's going to unpack a bunch of stuff. All right. And you're going to see that we actually failed. Because it's going to say we failed to load the EULA and we need to agree to the EULA in accordance to do it. So if we look in our directory, you're going to see that some new things popped up, and this is from the server unpacking, and we have a EULA.txt now. So we need to go into there. So we're going to say nano EULA.txt, and there's a little line in here where it says EULA equals false. We're just going to change that to true, of course, assuming you agree with the EULA. I do. So again, we're going to do Control X, Y, enter, and there we go. So if we run this command again by using the up key, it's probably going to take a minute to get going, but we should be okay now. It's going to take a minute. Cool, and look, we have a server running. It took a little while, but here we are. So this is a Minecraft server running, and if you say help, you can see these Minecraft commands come up. But unfortunately, we are not ready to jump in there quite right yet. We still have some more things to do. So I'm going to say stop, and that's just going to shut down the server for us. If you don't use stop, and if you just kind of use Control C or X out of this, the server doesn't technically shut down, quote unquote, correctly. So if you try to start it again, you're going to run into an error saying, oh, the process is still running. If that happens, I recommend just rebooting your instance here by going back on our instance page, and there should be a button that says reboot. I'd recommend doing that. So otherwise, when you stop your server, type in stop. So now that we have this, we need to set up some more networking on our instance. So let me zoom back out. We're going to go to our instances, and we need to set up the networking so that players can actually join the server, because that's pretty important. So we're going to go down here to the subnet right here. It might say something else for your subnet. We're going to click on that. And we're going to go down to this security list, and we're going to click on this default security list. And in here, we're going to click Add Ingress Rules. So we're going to add 2 of these. Okay, 2 of them up. So for the source CIDR, or CIDR, however you call it, we're just going to say 0.0.0.0/0, just like that. And that's going to be the same for both of these. And for the port range, we're going to say 255.65. And we're going to say that for both of these. And the part that's different is that for the IP protocol, this one is going to be TCP. Whoops. And this one's going to be UDP. And that should be everything. Yep. So we're going to add those ingress rules. And we should see them pop up over there. So now we need to hop back to our terminal. And we need to edit some of the firewall rules within here. So we're going to say sudo, mouse out of the way, firewall dash cmd dash, dash perm init, hope I spelled that right, dash zone equals public. And I'm going to say dash add dash port. Sorry if I had a brain fart for a second. 25565/TCP. Let me see if I can expand this a little bit. There we go. So one long command. I'm gonna hit enter. There we go. We got a success. So if I hit up, we're gonna do the same thing, except at the very end, we're gonna say UDP, like that. And then one more, we're gonna say sudo, firewall -cmd, and then reload. And then that reloads the firewall settings. And we get another success. Cool. So that should be good for the networking. And now we're almost done. So we can start the server now and it would run and we could log in. But once we closed out of this connection, our server would stop. And that's because when you use a SSH and you hit the X or you exit out of it, it sends like an exit/shutdown signal that's in the terminal, but that happens to interact with the Minecraft server and it shuts it down. So what we need to do is that we need to open another terminal session in here so that we can start Minecraft in another session and be able to close this without stopping our Minecraft server. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna install something called tmux. So we're in here, we're gonna say sudo yum install tmux, TMUX. So we're gonna do that. It's gonna look for a couple of things. We're gonna have to say yes in a second, I believe. All right, now that's done. We're gonna say yes or Y, enter, and there we go. Cool. So now we can start a new session. And to do that, we're going to say tmux new dash capital A lowercase s, and I'm just gonna say MC. The MC is like the name of our session. So hit enter, and you can see we got this little green bar now, and MC. So this is a session. It's basically like a new shell separate from the one that we were currently in. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna grab that command again. I have it copied over here. And copy that. Paste that in here. And so we're gonna start the server again. And you can see this one. I actually have different values for this XMX part. And originally it says 1024. So that would give your server 1 GB of RAM to use. But since we allocated our server 8 GB or however many you gave it, I'm actually gonna bump this up to 4. It's probably a good idea to use only about half of the memory we have for our total VM, but of course you can play with these settings if you find you need more. You should probably increase this for the more members or players you have, but for my purposes, or for this video, this is okay with me. So we're just gonna hit enter, and this is just going to start the server again. And this uses all the same files that we are already working with, so we shouldn't have to accept the EULA again, I believe. And this might take another minute to start. Depending on how many cores or CPUs you gave your server and how much RAM, it can kind of take a while to start some of these processes. Alright, it was much quicker that time since we've done it once before. And there we go, we are in the server right here. So the server is running, so what I'm going to do, actually, to exit out of this without stopping it, to go back to our other screen so we can exit safely, you're going to do Control B and then the letter D. Just like that. Not Control D, just the letter D. So now we're back in our normal shell. And now I'm going to X out of this. And we should be safe. Cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the IP address that we have for this. I got to go back to my instances. Oops, let me zoom back out here. Here it is. So the IP address, we're going to grab that again. And I'm going to start up Minecraft. Okay, so just notice, I apologize if this is a little laggy in the recording. My setup isn't meant for recording gameplay at the moment. But now that we have our IP address, I'm going to add server. I'm going to pop our IP address in there. That was on our instance page. It's done. I have a couple other servers in here for other stuff. This doesn't always pop up. Oh, there we go. So let's jump in. It's probably gonna take a second. And there we go. Joining. And here we are. It's probably a little bit laggy on my screen recorder, I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, we are in a full game of Minecraft right here, and this is all running on the cloud for free, which is pretty awesome if you ask me. So yeah, you can give that IP address to your friends, and you should be all set to go. That server won't shut down. You don't have to have your computer running for it. It's just a free server you can use. Cool, yeah, so other than that, we are all set. That's our server. And just for a heads up, if you do want to get back into there, just load up your session from PuTTY again. I have it loaded. So open that, log back in as OPC, and there we go. And if you want to get back to that little terminal that we had in there, you just have to use that same command that we used last time. So actually, I still have it. If you hit up, you'll get the last commands you entered while you were in here. And you can see it's still running. And as you can see, there I am. That's my username. And you can see I logged in from this IP address. And I'm still in there. So again, if I want to get out, Control B, and then the letter D, and we're out. So yeah, that's everything. I hope you guys enjoyed that tutorial. And please feel free to leave comments and questions in the section below. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't. I love doing stuff like this, and I can't wait to do more. Other than that, I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.